The top story this hour, the former Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif has time and again blamed the country's military for derailing his party's political prospects. But now for the first time, he's gone out and named an ISI officer. Nawaz Sharif claims that General Faiz Hamid and his team are behind the threat issued to candidates of the Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz. Sharif claims that the general's team is forcing its party's candidates to desert the party ahead of the July 25th election.
अमूर की बजाय सियासी अमूर पे आज सफाइयाँ पेश की जाती हैं। ये बड़े अफसोस का मकाम है कि ये नौबत यहाँ पर आई है और ये बिल्कुल सच बात है। बिल्कुल मेरा ख्याल है कि इसमें कोई शुबा नहीं है कि जनरल फैज़ हमीद साहब और उनकी जो टीम है वो पूरी तरह से मुलव्विस है। जो हमारे लोग तोड़े गए, हमारे जो कैंडिडेट्स हैं उनसे निशान शेर के निशान छुड़वाने के लिए उनका किरदार है और उनको जीत का निशान दिलवाने के लिए उनका किरदार है और उन लोगों को पार्टी छोड़ने पे मजबूर करने में उनका किरदार है।
The man who Sharif is accusing of pre-poll rigging is General Faiz, who is a Director General of Counterintelligence at the ISI. The general elections are scheduled for July 25th in Pakistan. Nawaz Sharif is currently in London. Just last week, he and his daughter were convicted in a corruption case by the National Accountability Bureau Court. Now, the PMLN has time and again accused unknown forces of squeezing the party ahead of these polls on July 25th. However, this is the first time that an actual name and an actual person has been named by the party's supremo, PMLN's Nawaz Sharif, the former Prime Minister of Pakistan. He has, of course, gone on and named a general of the ISI. Imtiaz Gul, senior journalist from Pakistan, is joining me on the broadcast right now for more on that story. Imtiaz, good evening. Thank you for speaking with us. Your first thoughts on the former Prime Minister's allegations?
Well, I think he seems to be on a confrontation path with the general headquarters and the rest of the military establishment, and has come out with this name. And one would also like to see how can he then now go on to substantiate his claim that this particular journal is spearheading the anti-Pakistan Muslim League campaign.
Right. This also comes ahead of Mr. Sharif's return to Pakistan, which is scheduled for tomorrow. Do you think this is also preemptive action on his part to maintain a narrative that the PMLN has created during the run-up to the elections?
Yeah, obviously he has created this narrative of victimhood that the judiciary and the general headquarters, the army, have basically joined hands against him. So this is a narrative that he, I think, intends to build on, and probably this is, by naming the general, he has taken this fight to a new level, and we'll see how the government and the military now handles this situation if both Nawaz Sharif and Maryam Nawaz then do return to Pakistan in a couple of days.
You sound skeptical of the claims. Am I correct in reading that sentiment?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
I said you sound a bit skeptical of these claims made by Mr. Sharif. Am I correct in reading that assessment from your comments?
Well, because I don't have any proof that this particular journal is involved in engineering against the Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz. So until I have a proof, how can I be sure about these things? Beyond
the specific name, though, I'm talking about the general narrative about the military establishment working towards preventing the PMLN from achieving success in this election. What about that?
I think there are more PTI candidates who have been disqualified for displaying pictures of the Chief Justice or the Army Chief than of Pakistan Muslim League. So Nawaz Sharif party, I think, has fielded as many candidates as it could, and there were initial rejections of the nomination papers, but meanwhile, almost everybody from Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz has been given the permission basically to contest the election. So yes, there is something that happened even in earlier elections in 2008 and 2013 when fence sitters, you can call them opportunists, they simply cross to the other party, they join with the way the wind is blowing. So this time around, the wind seems to be blowing in favor of the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf of Imran Khan,
right?
And that's why a lot of people have gone on to join him. And this is nothing unusual for Pakistan. I mean, if people remember the history of elections, particularly the last three elections, this is more or less the same pattern. But Nawaz Sharif is complaining this time because this time around the situation is not favorable for him, particularly because of his conviction in corruption cases.
Sure. Okay, we leave it at that. Imtiaz Gul, thank you for speaking with us here at WION. Ahmed Shaheen is also with us on the broadcast. I'll go to him in just a second. Before we do that, though, let's listen in to the statement itself from the former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif.
फौजी अमूर की बजाय सियासी अमूर पे आज सफाइयाँ पेश की जाती हैं, ये बड़े अफसोस का मकाम है कि ये नौबत यहाँ पर आई है। और ये बिल्कुल सच बात है, बिल्कुल मेरा ख्याल है कि इसमें कोई शुबा नहीं है कि जनरल फैज़ हमीद साहब और उनकी जो टीम है वो पूरी तरह से मुलव्विस है। जो हमारे लोग तोड़े गए, हमारे जो कैंडिडेट्स हैं उनसे निशान शेर के निशान छुड़वाने के लिए उनका किरदार है और उनको जीत का निशान दिलवाने के लिए उनका किरदार है और उन लोगों को पार्टी छोड़ने पे मजबूर करने में उनका किरदार है।
Right, senior journalist Ahmed Shaheen joining us on the broadcast from Lahore for more on that story. Ahmed, good evening. Thanks for making time for WION once again. The fact that he's gone out and actually named an individual instead of just talking about this, the unknown forces, so to speak, that have been behind what he calls a squeezing of his party. What do you make of that, especially given the timing and his purported return to Pakistan tomorrow?
Nawaz Sharif is being very unlike what would have been expected from him, but it's not just Nawaz Sharif who is naming people from the intelligence agencies and saying that they are pressuring and influencing their candidates. Faradullah Babar from the Pakistan People's Party is also naming people from the establishment, using their actual names. There are other press conferences happening which are being not played on the mainstream media, but they are on social media where politicians themselves are naming individuals from the military establishment, that they are being pressured. Let's also not forget that none of the main the political parties deny the fact that the military establishment influences candidates and forces them to leave or join different parties. It's the accusations are always in relation to the fact that the military establishment is helping the other party.
Okay.
So the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf this time is being accused of being helped by the military establishment, has been accusing the PMLN for being helped by the military establishment. So if everyone's word is taken as it is, one thing is certain, that there is definitely meddling from the non-democratic forces in Pakistan, and that is the biggest issue for Pakistan right now, that needs to stop. It is irrelevant who is being helped and who is not. Right. Nobody should be helped.
Exactly. That was going to be my next question. That is there, a chronic lack of transparency when it comes to the polls, which allows these kinds of, bogeymen to arise, and for parties like the PMLN to throw out these allegations, and then the PTI, for instance, to make counter allegations. Is that the problem here?
I think the problem is in the principle that the military has nothing to do with elections. And very recently, yesterday, there was a press conference by the the ISPR, the spokes body for the military, and in that, the journalists that are invited in those at those conferences and at those events, these journalists are also handpicked. So it's not just in politics; it's in business, it's in media, it's in almost every sphere of life where the military institution does not belong, and it's not being questioned. Why are you sitting? Why are you at the stock exchange? Why are you in the industry? Why are you in the banking sector? Why are you in the investment sector? Why are you in the media? So these are the very important, basic, principled questions that need to be asked, that you are not, every institute in every country has their own space and their own place. And as a matter of principle, people have to talk about it. That if it's the agriculture department cannot mete out justice to the common people.
Right.
And similarly, when it comes to the military establishment, it's a security establishment. It cannot be. Because it will be so powerful as a competitor to businesses. It cannot be in private business. It cannot be in media. But what we experience is that somehow, because of the way we've been nurtured, we've been brainwashed, we feel that the military establishment is and should be in every sphere of life. And I think this lack of principle is where the problem starts for countries like Pakistan.
Right, and Mr. Sharif's statement also coming on a tragic day, considering that blast that took place, that took the life of Mr. Haroon Bilur, and the ANP, of course, has been the target of terrorist organizations in the past as well. The Election Commission coming out and making a statement saying that there is fear as far as security goes when it comes to these elections. So do you think that these events need to be looked at within, let's say, the same framework at least, since the polls are less than 2 weeks away?
I think, once again, it's very important that the military establishment is kept really far away, not just in words, but also practically from the electioneering. And it's rather unsettling that if you look at the kind of attacks that have happened on the political parties, it's very unsettling to see that it's always been I am not suggesting that the military establishment is directly perpetrating these terrorist attacks, but it is very unsettling to see that it's always the anti-establishment political party that is at the #1 threat of these terrorists. And it's always the same family, the same kind of politics. It was the grandfather who was murdered by the terrorists, then it's the father, now it's the son. It's always the same people. Whereas when you talk about other, what other parties are perceived to be supported by the military establishment, for example, the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, they go as far as Bannu and they come back in their rallies, and there is zero threat of, and I'm glad about it, that there is zero threat towards them for a terrorist attack.
Right.
The worst thing that happens to them is that they get named, that they might get attacked. But there's never been an attack of that sort. And it raises eyebrows.
Of course, and it's interesting you mentioned that, because just yesterday the NACTA did issue names of people they thought were in the hit list. And interestingly, Haroon Bilur's name was not there, but Imran Khan, Hafiz Saeed's son, for instance, did find mention there. We leave it at that. Ahmed, thank you for joining us this evening and sharing your perspective with us on that story. Now, we will, of course, continue to track Pakistan's elections this evening as well at 8:30 p.m.